All right, good morning, students. This is Algebra 2 lesson for Monday, December the 2nd. I'm not able to be in class today, so I'm going ahead and recording your lesson so that you can still receive instruction and get to work on your class assignments. Remember, I gave you a sheet of paper before we left on the break, and it listed all the lessons and topics we'll be covering, as well as the assignments and the quizzes that will be up and coming this week and next week. We need to finish up chapter 5 before the semester ends, so we've got to get to work and make sure you understand each one of these. The chapter we're studying is called Quadratic Equations and Parabolas. And this lesson right here is lesson 5.2, and it starts on page 236. And the lesson is entitled Parabolas, Graphs of Quadratic Equations. And so if you'll get your notes and go ahead and copy this slide down here, there's some very important information here that I'll go ahead and explain. And then if you need to pause the video and copy the slide down, that will be fine. A quadratic equation is in this form right here. It is in the form y is equal to ax to the second power. When we type it, we'll just do a little caret like this, but this means raised to the second power, plus bx plus c. And that would be an equation such as, here would be an example, y is equal to 2x squared plus 3x plus 10. Here would just be an example of what a quadratic equation looks like. And we're going to be studying these type of equations this week and explaining what all of this means. But it's just in the form where you've got y is equal to a number that is raised to the x to the second power. So the coefficient is in front of the x squared. And then plus or minus a number in front of the x where there's a coefficient in front of the x. And then plus or minus a constant. So there will be 3 terms, and each one of these terms and each one of the coefficients or the constant is an important part. Here are a couple things about quadratic equations. To know whether an equation is quadratic, you want to look at it and look at your highest exponent and if it is in the second degree. So this one right here is a quadratic equation because of the 2x squared. Now, the x squared term can be anywhere in the equation. This is going to be in the standard form where we've got the y on one side and then everything else is ordered here. The x squared is first, then the x term, then the constant. But as long as you find a term that has x to the second power and that's the highest exponent, it's considered a quadratic equation. When we go to graph quadratic equations, the graph is going to be a U shape instead of a line or other things that we graph. It's going to look like a U, and it is called a parabola. Remember, it looks like the word parabola, but it's pronounced parabola. If a, or this number right here in front of the x squared term, if this number here, once we order it, is positive, then the parabola will open up. And this would be the shape that it would look like. And so since my example right here is a positive 2, I know that it is it's going to follow this one right here, number 3, and it is going to open up. And so when we go to start graphing quadratic equations, we're going to look for little clues that help us to know how to graph it. And one will be whether the U opens up, if this number in front of x squared is positive, or if it is negative, then the parabola is going to open down. And it's going to be a U shape that looks like this. So that's going to be the first thing, and it's not very difficult. You just always get everything set up here in your quadratic equation, look for the number in front of x squared, and if the question on the homework or a quiz or a test is, does the parabola open up or down, this is how you can tell right here by this number 2. All right, here are a couple other things that we're going to be doing when we go to work on graphing a quadratic equation. We're going to be labeling A, B, and C. We're going to find the axis of symmetry. We're going to find the vertex. We're going to find the y-intercept. Then we will find another point on the same side of the axis of symmetry as the y-intercept. If the vertex is the y-intercept, we will find another point. And then we're going to mirror the 2 points over the axis of symmetry and graph the parabola. So it is true that graphing a parabola is a little bit more complicated than a line. But once you go through these 6 steps several times, it starts to make sense. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is we have to figure out what A, B, and C will be. And so here would be another example of an equation. Notice this time instead of y on the left side, we have f of x. But f of x and y mean the same thing. And then on the right side, we've got 1/4 x squared plus 2x minus 3. And so I'm going to show you what each part of this equation is by finding A, B, and C. We're going to talk about what the axis of symmetry is, what the vertex and another point would be. And so let's talk first of all about finding A, B, and C. If you have your equation ordered so that you've got the x squared, then the x, then the constant, it's very easy to find A, B, and C. A will just be the number that is in front of x squared. So in this case, notice that A is equal to 1/4. And just leave it as a fraction. You don't have to make it into a decimal. Then B is the number that's right in front of the x. The sign goes with it. So because it's a positive 2, you can just write that B is 2. And then C is the number that is the constant. That's all the way here at the end of the equation. Notice the sign, the negative to the left of the number also goes with the number 3, so we would say that C is a -3. These other things I'll get to other slides, but this is what we're trying to graph. A parabola that looks like this, that has an axis of symmetry, and that has different points that we've plotted. So we'll kind of move along here. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is we're trying to find A, B, and C. So take this first equation here. It says drag the numbers to the correct boxes. When done, pop the bubbles to check your answers. So I'm going to fill in A, B, and C here for this first one, and then I'll go through and pop the bubbles and see. We'll see if we were right, and then I'll give you some time to work on these other 2 examples as far as finding A, B, and C. All right, A right here is always the number that is the coefficient in front of x squared. When there is no number, there is an x squared, but there's no number in front of x squared, we get an understood 1. So I'm going to pull that up, and A in this first equation will equal 1. B is the number and the sign that is to the left of the x term. So notice since -4 is in front of the x, then our B coefficient is -4. And then C is really easy. Right there is the 1. So let's check and make sure we were right. We'll pop this bubble. Yep, was 1. A was 1. Pop the red bubble, and that would be a -4. And pop the C, and it is 1. So I got A, B, and C. I was correct. Okay, I want you to go through now for this second example. F of x is equal to -2x squared plus 5x minus 2. I want you to fill in the blanks for each one of these. Write A is equal to, B is equal to, C is equal to, and then the same thing for this last one right here. I'll give you just about a minute to fill in those numbers, and we'll see if you're right. All right, it's been about a minute now, and so let's see how you did on this second example. F of x is equal to -2x squared plus 5x minus 2. And so we always start here. Notice the f of x is on the left, so we always start the closest to the equal sign to find a. And a will be this number right here in front of the x squared. So hopefully you wrote down -2 for a. And if I was in person with you, I'd let you pop the bubble, but you're just going to have to enjoy the popping noise. Well, that one didn't make a popping noise. My apologies. All right, for b, it goes right here to, we go to the x term, and we see that there's a 5 in front of x, and it's a positive 5. So we're just going to bring up one of these 5s here. And then we'll pop the bubble, and sure enough, it's 5. And then -2 would be your c. And so this is just a little practice because you're going to have to use a, b, and c quite a bit. And so that would be, those would be your 3 numbers for a, b, and c for example 2. And then example 3, I see that a would be 3 right here. So let's bring up a 3. And let's check to see if we're right. Yes, we're right. Okay, now b, I don't know if you caught this, but b always has to be the number that is in front of the x. And in this one, we only have 3x squared plus 1. And so there's no x term, therefore there is no b term, therefore b is 0. And then c would be the 1. So that was a little bit tricky. Hopefully that makes sense now. That for this third example, a is 3, b is 0 because there's no x term, and then there is the constant of 1. So hopefully after you've watched this slide, you understand how to find a, b, and c. The biggest thing is make sure that everything is ordered from the highest exponent of x to the second power, then the x, then the constant, so that you have your terms in the right order to find a, b, and c. That is important. Order is important. All right, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to find the axis of symmetry. For your homework today, the first section will just be tell whether the parabola opens up or down. So actually, let's go back to that first slide, or that slide. This one right here, if I was wanting to know, does this equation show that the parabola will open up or down? And it's, you look at a right here, and because a is positive, this this graph will, the u for the parabola will open up. So you would write down that the parabola opens up. This one, because a is negative, you would write that the parabola opens down because of this number right here in front of the x squared. And then the third one, 3x squared, the a is equal to 3, and it's positive, so this third one will open up. Okay, that's all you have to know for the first section on your homework. It says decide whether the parabola opens up or down. So as long as your equation is written in order, you should be able to find the a, the value for a in each equation, and then as long as a is positive, it opens up. When it's negative, like this one, it opens down. That's all you have to know for the first 6 on your homework assignment. All right, then the next section is going to say find the vertex and the axis of symmetry. And so the best thing to do is to find your formula or your equation for the axis of symmetry first. And then once you find that, then you're halfway to finding your vertex as well. So here will be the equation for the axis of symmetry. Go ahead and write this down in your notes. Formula for the axis of symmetry is x is equal to -b over or divided by 2a. And so you're going to use your a, b, and c again. Here's your a, remember, was 1/4. B was 2, and C was -3. So I always go ahead and just label A, B, and C. Then I'm going to use this formula, and I'm going to take the values for my equation, for my quadratic equation. I'm going to substitute them in to the formula for the axis of symmetry of x is equal to -b over 2a. So with this one, notice we start all the way down here. X is equal to -b over 2a. So -b, if b is positive, we make it -2. So my numerator is -2. B was positive 2, therefore -b will be -2. If b is negative, then the negative of -2 will make it positive. Hopefully that makes sense. So your numerator here will always be the opposite sign of whatever b was. And then the denominator is 2 times a. So I've got it right here, 2 times a, and then you will just substitute the value of a in. And in this case, it was 2 times 1/4 because a was 1/4. When you multiply 2 times 1/4, you get 1/2. And then we take the numerator over the denominator. Remember what happens is you go -2 times the reciprocal of the denominator. So you're going to take this denominator and you're going to flip it and make it 2/1 or just 2. And so that's how we got -4, because -2 times the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. Therefore, -2 times 2 is a -4. And that's how they got the x-axis of symmetry to be a -4. All right, so my equation will be x is equal to a -4. That's the equation for the axis of symmetry. And the axis of symmetry is just the line that we're going to draw down basically the middle of the parabola. Okay, x is equal to a -4. Let me take you back to that slide where you were graphing. X is equal to a -4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember to graph x is equal to 4, find where it crosses the x-axis at a -4, and then you're just going to draw a straight line through it. So the equation is x is equal to a -4. And the ones that you're dealing with will always be x is equal to. There are some that go the other direction, but for right now it's either going to open up or open down. So that's the equation for axis of symmetry, because it goes through the x-axis at a -4. All right, let's practice that 3 times. And so here are numbers again, where we've got them in standard form. Make sure you got your y is equal to x squared, then the x, then the 1. So I got to figure out my a, b, and c. I'll go a little bit faster because you know how to do this now. A is 1, b is -4, and c is a +1. So first find your a, b, and c. Then here's my equation. X is equal to a -b over 2a. And it says drag the numbers to the correct space, then solve the problem. Write your answer in the box. Okay, so I'm just going to take, because I've already figured out a, b, and c up here, I'm just going to take them down. So this is supposed to be -b. Since b was -4, I brought it down. And then this is supposed to be 2 times a. And so we'll bring the a down. I don't really need the c for this one, for the axis of symmetry, but it's still good to make sure I know what all 3 of them are. So all I'm using to find x would be the b and the a. So notice here, negative of a -4 would be a +4 over 2. 4 over 2 is going to be just equal to 2. And I don't have a 2. Okay, oh yeah, I'm just supposed to write it in the box. And so once I simplify that fraction, it would just simplify down to 2. Okay, the second one, a is going to equal a -2. Notice this is the one where I'm going to say it opens down because that is negative. So I'm going to make a -2 for a. B is 5. And C is -2. I don't really have to do C, but I'm going to just to finish out the boxes. Then because my equation is -b over 2a, I'm going to bring my b down. This time it will be a -5, because negative of a positive number will make it -5 over 2 times -2. So in this case, it's still just going to remain, and I can just leave it as a fraction here, 5 over 4. And notice it will be positive because I've got a negative here. A negative over negative makes it positive. In the numerator, it would be -5. And then the denominator, 2 times -2, would be a -4. But if I have a -5 over a -4, then negative over negative just makes it positive. Positive 5/4. Okay, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to figure out this last one here. Remember, if there's no x term, then b is 0. Okay, it was pretty easy because the three numbers that remained were the three that went in the boxes, but hopefully remember the coefficient in front of x squared is 3. So this one's going to open up. Then there was no middle term, there was no x term, so b is 0. If there's no x term there, then the number for none is 0, and then c would be 1. So when we go to fill in, negative b is negative 0. And then even if there is a denominator, it's still 0 over 6 will just be 0. So x is equal to 0 in this case. All right, so we found our axis of symmetry for this first one. You would just write x is equal to 2. In other words, the line that goes through the x-axis at a positive 2 will be the axis of symmetry for this first one. The second one, x is equal to positive 5/4. Positive 5/4. We already explained how to find the 5/4, but you can just write that. In other words, that one's going to go through the x-axis at about 1 1/4. So you can still plot that. You can still draw a line that goes through the x-axis at 1 1/4. You'll just estimate it. Okay, and then the last one, x is equal to 0. And that one will just be the axis, and it will go through that. All right, that's how you find the axis of symmetry. Remember, the equation is negative b over 2a. Hope you wrote that down. Okay, then the last thing that we have to do for our homework today is to find the vertex by using the x value from the axis of symmetry. So to find a vertex will be a point. It will have an x and it will have a y. Okay, so it's actually not too bad. It kind of sounds crazy, or it may seem like this is a long explanation, but look what happened. You're going to use that same formula that you used for the axis of symmetry. X is equal to negative b over 2a. We already have done this example where we got x was equal to negative 4. So that was the value for the axis of symmetry. It is also the x here in the vertex. And so once you found the axis of symmetry, you've already found your x, would be negative 4. And then to find the y, you just substitute the value, whatever you found for x, into the equation and solve for y that way. So here was the original equation. F of x is equal to 1/4 x squared plus 2x minus 3. Once we found the axis of symmetry, that x was equal to negative 4. Now we take that negative 4, plug it back in here for x right here, and in here for x right here. And they've shown you the work. 1/4 times negative 4 to the second power. Now when you raise the negative 4 to the second power, it's negative 4 times negative 4 times 1/4. So it's 16 times 1/4 would just be 4. 1/4 is 16. And then 2 times negative 4 will be minus 8. And then there was a constant of a negative 3 right here. So if you look at this, 4 minus 8 will be a negative 4. And then negative 4 minus 3, that's how they got the negative 7. And then that is actually what your y is. So that's how you would find the vertex, the point. It's going to be, the vertex is going to be the highest or lowest point. So let's say that your parabola opened like this. It was positive, which this one is because the 1/4 is positive. So my parabola is going to be a U shape and it's going to open up like this. The vertex, what we're finding here, is the lowest point. It's the xy axis. So this ordered pair right here is just telling me that that's the coordinates for the point right here. That is the lowest. And then remember, the axis of symmetry is the line that goes through that point and kind of divides your parabola in half. And so that's what we're finding. We're finding the equation for this line that goes right through the parabola, cuts it in half, and then the vertex is the lowest, or if it opens down, it would be the highest point right here. So if it opens down, the vertex is the highest point. If it opens up, it's the lowest point. And you're just going to use that, so basically that, oops, sorry. Get rid of that. Basically, you're going to use the same equation of x is equal to negative b over 2a. All right, let's just practice this just a little bit more with the three equations, we have already found that the axis of symmetry here is 2. And so to find the vertex, since we've already found the axis of symmetry, you're just going to plug in 2 right here. 2 squared would be 4, minus 4 times 2 would be 4 minus 8. 4 minus 8 is a negative 4, and a negative 4 plus 1 would be a negative 3. So I think y will equal a negative 3 if I calculate it correctly. And once I write this down, I'm going to go back and just look at it again. 2 squared would be 4. 4 minus 8 was negative 4, and negative 4 plus 1 was a negative 3. So let's pop it here and see if that works. I'm not sure what my answer is. Sorry about that. I guess I'm just supposed to write it in there, so let's see if I can back that up. I'll just write negative 3. Okay, this one right here, I'll have to do a little bit more computing. And so I'm going to, actually let's come down here to this one. If we plug in 0 for x, 3 times 0 would just be 0. And so the vertex here is going to be, make it look a little bit better. X is 0, and then y is 1. So that's what it was supposed to look like. Over here, I'll do this one a little bit better. The ordered pair for the vertex would be 2 and negative 3. Right, that's what we're looking for as far as the vertex. The vertex always has to be an ordered pair, the vertex for this one. You use the same value that you found for the axis of symmetry, and then to find the y, you're just going to plug the x into the equation and solve for y. That's how you find the vertex. Okay, this one you might want to grab a piece of paper and do some computing, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm looking for something to write with. And so go ahead and see if you can work on this one, and then I'll tell you, I'll do it as well. We'll go over the answer here in just a minute. Okay, this one was a little bit harder because it was in fractions. But basically what I got was a negative 33 over 4. negative 33 over 4. And that should be the y. And so, sorry, put the x first, and the negative 5/4 right here is your x. And then your y is a negative 33 over 4. And that was a little bit harder. You had to plug in negative 5/4 right here and square it, which would have been 25. When you square negative 5 over 4, square the negative 5 and you get 25, square the 4 and you get 16. So 25 over 16, and then you would multiply that by negative 2, and you got a negative 50 over 16. And I just went ahead and, negative 50 over 16. That was the first one, negative 50 over 16. Sorry, this is hard to write with. Negative 50 over 16. And then you take in the negative 5/4, plug it in right here. 5 times negative 5/4, 5 times the negative 5 would be a negative 25. And then I multiplied that by 4 and got 100 over 16. Because you want a common denominator. So I did negative 100 over 16. Just multiplied 25 over 4 and multiplied top and bottom by 4. And then minus 2, well, when I go to make that into 16ths, I got negative 32 over 16. So I know it's fractions and nobody likes fractions, but you have to take all three of them and have 16ths. So then when I did negative 50 minus 100, that's 150. And then minus 1. Oh, you know what? It's not even right. Okay. I'm going to stop this right now. Let's just X this one out right here. We'll talk about this tomorrow. It's getting late, and so I just wanted to finish this one up with you. But this one was right. Okay. Okay, we'll find the y-intercept tomorrow, and the second point, all of this. What I wanted you to do for tomorrow, I think I've explained enough of it, page 239, 5 through 22, all. This will be due tomorrow, the 2nd of December. And I'll talk to you more about this tomorrow. See you then.